Hey everyone, welcome to Wrestling My Thoughts. This is the WWE NXT Post Show for Valentine's Day, Tuesday, February 14th of 2023. Let's go ahead and jump right into it because we had a pretty solid show this week. So to kick things off, we actually had Tyler Bate against Grayson Waller. Waller coming back from his 1 week suspension that he got for breaking up the post-show conference on Vengeance Day with Shawn Michaels. This was a really, honestly, a perfect start to the show as far as which match out of the six they announced. Bate's always going to bring it. Same with Waller. They had a solid back and forth contest that Bate ended up winning after the referee caught Waller trying to use the ropes for a roll up. Bate turned it into one of his own, got the W there. And of course, Waller was pissed, started arguing with the referee, all that stuff. We then go backstage to one of my favorite stories from NXT lately, NXT 2.0, if you will. We had Josh Briggs and Brooks Jensen backstage. Briggs was getting Jensen ready for his date tonight with Kiana James. They were talking about Jensen having his first kiss, and there was some funny parts in there as far as Briggs teaching Jensen the, as he put it, the 90-10 rule. Fallon Henley then came in and was kind of confused by what they were doing in an awkward moment before telling Jensen that the cardinal rule, if Kiana shakes her keys when he takes her home, that means to go in for a kiss. So funny stuff there. We then cut to the gorilla position in one of those really cool kind of like breaking the fourth wall moments where we see Waller and Shawn Michaels actually arguing. NXT coach Prince Albert, a.k.a. A-Train, a.k.a. Matt Bloom, had to pull Waller away. Michaels then looked into the camera and started screaming to go to break. First comment real quick. Jacob Barton says, "Hey there. What's up, Uncle? Thanks for joining the live. Glad to see it's actually working this time. Fingers crossed." So anyway, HBK demanded that we cut to commercial break, and then just immediately right there, we went to commercial, which was kind of cool. Show some realism, inject some of that into the pro wrestling. We then see a video of Apollo Crews writing in his journal before he slammed it down to the floor and calls out his former protege, Daba Kato. Crews was kind of confused by Kato's reasoning by attacking him back at Vengeance Day and saying just now he's focused on revenge. And then in one of the first main event segments of the evening, I call them main event segments because it's essentially the things that everybody wants to see in the show. We had a former Toxic Attraction member, JC Jane, coming out to the ring to cut a promo. JC said that NXT wasn't all about her before then calling herself the talk of the town, essentially. She says that the only regret she had as far as pulling the trigger on turning on Gigi Dolan was that she didn't do it sooner. She was making fun of Gigi, calling her Chucky, all sorts of stuff, saying that nobody looked at JC before when Toxic was a whole unit with Mandy and Gigi, but how, of course, now everybody's talking about her. Jane told the crowd basically, screw them for always believing she was the odd one out, before she then said to end the segment that she was now the last woman standing from Toxic Attraction. This was a solid segment. I was one of the majority in thinking that JC Jane was essentially the weakest of the three. So it's good that they had her be the one that turns on the group, so we can kind of see what she's going to do, see what her potential is there. Because, of course, we know that Gigi can bring the in-ring and the character work. Obviously, when Mandy Rose was there, we knew what she brought to the table. So yeah, I'm excited to see where JC's new character goes. It looks like they're hinting at Gigi versus JC in a last woman standing match at Stand and Deliver, but of course we'll have to see what happens there. We then cut to the back where Chase U members Duke and Andre Chase were comforting Thea Hale after she was kidnapped by the Schism last week. Hale basically said that she's still good to go in her match against Tiffany Stratton tonight, that she doesn't need to postpone it, and she's going to give Fear and Tiffany Stratton an Andre Chase U sized ass whooping. Confused by my own notes here. We then see a clip of NXT sensation Sol Ruka talking about her childhood and her motivation to become a wrestler, talking about how basically she had good grades all throughout school and how she made a deal with her parents where if she kept her straight A's and got a scholarship in college, then she could do whatever she wanted with her life. And she was talking about how she did everything from surfing to drawing to painting to photography, and then decided she wanted to be a wrestler. Ruka then called out Zoe Stark for a rematch at some point in time, which is going to be awesome. If you haven't seen the clip of what she's calling the Soul Snatcher, if you know, you know. If you don't know, you definitely need to check it out. That's one of the craziest finishers out there. Our next match, we had Tiffany Stratton taking on Thea Hale. This match was partly an enhancement match for Tiffany Stratton, but also partly like a storyline progression between Thea Hale and the Schism. Of course, during the match, multiple members of the Schism kind of haunted Thea from different points in the arena, which obviously caused a big distraction. Stratton then hit a Green Bay Slam, as she calls it, into the best moonsault ever, which those of you who don't know, that's like a springboard off of each turnbuckle before she hits the top, hits a moonsault. Tiffany got the pin, and she continues to look really good since her return. And that's about really all there is there on that front. In our next match, we had another basically like a exhibition kind of enhancement type match. We had Axiom defeating Damon Kemp. The match went back and forth. I wouldn't call it a squash by any means, but I don't think the winner was in doubt at all. Damon showed a lot of his strength. Axiom showed a lot of his high-flying moves and his striking abilities. Of course, Axiom got the pin with the golden ratio, which is like a leaping thrust kick. So then we go to the back where we see Fallon, Henley, and Josh Briggs watching the TV, which before that was showing different pics of Jensen and Kiana James's date, which, I mean, they look super happy. Doesn't look like Kiana James was planning on turning on him at any point. So, yeah, because, of course, just to recap for those of you who are new to NXT this week watching the show, basically what's going on is Kiana was a heel before she decided to team with Fallon, and there's been some teases that Kiana is cheating on Jensen. At one point, Fallon Henley even caught Kiana on the phone with somebody named Zach, telling him, "I love you, Zach." So Fallon seems to think that Kiana's cheating on Jensen. And so, yeah, that kind of explains the apprehension there by Fallon. Of course, Briggs is kind of confused. He's like, dude, what's going on with you? Why are you acting all weird? And then Fallon tells Briggs that she has to tell Jensen, and then they leave. We then go to a social media video of Grayson Waller kind of just yelling and screaming and ranting about being kicked out of the Capitol Wrestling Center earlier tonight. It definitely seems like it's going to lead to a match where Shawn Michaels sets up a mystery opponent that might or might not be the debuting Dragon Lee, is what I'm hearing a lot of. So stay tuned there for sure. In our next segment of the night, we had NXT champion Bron Breakker making his first appearance on NXT TV since Vengeance Day. He started hinting at the upcoming rumored match with Carmelo Hayes. However, he was interrupted immediately by Jinder Mahal and Indus Sher. Completely random. Like nobody thinks Jinder is going to win a title at any point anytime soon. So, yeah, this was kind of weird. Mahal praised Breakker for his run as NXT champion and then said that he sympathized with Breakker's run because of his own experience as WWE champion. Jinder then told Braun that you either die a hero or become a villain. But Breakker said he didn't care about Mahal's comments, and he acknowledged the crowd who was even booing Braun, just kind of like heckling him a little bit. Braun said that basically the fans have their own opinions and stuff, and they can cheer or boo whoever they want, kind of just playing it off. Jinder then challenged Breakker to a match for the NXT title, to which Breakker accepted and called Indus Sher and Jinder the new three-man band, which finally got a pop from the crowd and got them kind of back on Braun's side. We then go to the back where NXT Women's Champion Roxanne Perez and Miko Satomura are preparing for their main event tag match, as their opponents, Kaden Carter and Katana Chance, came in and apologized to Roxanne for their comments last week that were kind of aggressive. Perez thanked Miko for being her teammate tonight after they left. But Miko responded by saying that she had her reasons, and then very coyly kind of looked back at the NXT Women's title. It's foreshadowing for later. Next, we had an open challenge for the NXT North American title, where champion Wesley came out to the ring after the commercial. Immediately, Tony D'Angelo started to come out, but was attacked with his underboss, Channing Stacks Lorenzo by Dijak, which I thought it was going to be Tony D that accepts the open challenge. As Wes was looking on at what was going on the ramp, he turned around into a big boot by Von Wagner, and that got my eye roll of the night for sure, just because nobody really seems to be into Von like at all. There's just nothing there. His in-ring is okay. It's mediocre in my opinion. He's really got no character. He's just kind of like your average big guy type. So I was just kind of like, okay, whatever. Good thing it was a short match. Of course, obviously, Wes ended up retaining the North American title. Thank God. We then go to the backstage area where Drew Gulak gifted his trainee Hank Walker a pair of boots ahead of his match against Charlie Dempsey, which was a really short one. Dempsey basically put on a submission clinic. For those of you who don't know, Charlie Dempsey is William Regal's son. So naturally, like father, like son there, submission perfectionist. Walker at one point locked in a Fujiwara armbar on Dempsey, but Dempsey just easily rolled it over and actually locked in the Regal stretch to pick up the quick win. After the bell, Dempsey kept the stretch on Walker before the referees pulled him off. There was a moment where Gulak and Dempsey teased fighting each other, but then they actually ended up leaving together, which completely caught me by surprise. I thought they'd at least have one match against each other before they did the heel turn, but oh well. We then go to a pre-recorded bit between NXT Tag Team Champions Gallus, who were in an Irish pub before Pretty Deadly joined them, and then they ended up playing pool together. Of course, Pretty Deadly got handled pretty quick in pool, but then Gallus agreed that if Pretty Deadly was able to beat them in one more game, they could have an NXT Tag title shot. They then went multiple rounds. Gallus won every single round, and then they finally ended up just telling them if they wanted a tag title match, all they had to do was ask, which was kind of funny, just to see how frustrated Pretty Deadly was there. So that's going to be a good match. They didn't say when that would take place, but I'd imagine probably next week. We then go to the interviewing area where Ilya Dragunov was being asked a couple of questions before Trick ended up calling him out to the ring. Ilya immediately went out because obviously he's not one to turn down a challenge. Trick then continued to talk his trash to Ilya. Ilya walked down the ring and confronted him and then said that while Trick's the life of the party, Ilya's not there for any fun, but there to finish his mission. Dragunov then dropped Trick with the leaping enziguri before JD McDonough came down to the ring with an eye patch, the story being there. Actually, I'm not sure if it's story or if it's legit, but word is that Ilya tore JD's retina, which is a freaking nasty injury there. McDonough told Ilya that he would beat up Ilya so badly that he wouldn't be able to grab his own son. Of course, that pissed off Ilya, but Trick ended up attacking him from behind. As Trick walked out of the ring, JD teased getting in the ring to confront Dragunov, but then immediately walked off, saving that confrontation for a later day. Before our main event, we cut to Kiana and Brooks, who were outside Kiana's house. Brooks obviously was super nervous, super scared, said a couple of really goofy things that I thought was funny, just seeing how nervous he was because he's been crushing on Kiana so hard. And they had their nice little date and stuff, and Kiana even started, doing the key shaking thing that Fallon warned Brooks about. Brooks then did, in fact, go 90, but before Kiana could go 10, Fallon and Briggs showed up. Fallon then told Jensen in front of Kiana that Kiana was cheating on him. Of course, then Kiana revealed that the Zach she was speaking to was, in fact, her brother. And then in a hilarious bit, her brother actually opens her front door, and then tells her, "Hey, sis, didn't know that you were home. I fed the dogs. I'm going to leave through the garage," in like a super awkward moment, which is honestly really funny. I don't think it was meant to be as hilarious as it was, but yeah, no, it was good. So everyone's just standing there, just kind of looking stuck in the face. Kiana went inside. Jensen didn't get his kiss, and he was just so down. Like, he was doing the whole thing to where, like, I almost thought he was gonna tell Fallon, "I'm not mad at you. I'm disappointed in you." It was just, he looked like a lost puppy in the rain kind of a thing. So curious to see where that's going to go. Of all things, I'm not usually one for these kinds of stories, especially in pro wrestling, but it's definitely held my interest, and I'm curious to see, especially with Fallon and Kiana being women's tag team champions, curious to see where that's going to go. Take a quick drink there. Then our main event of the evening, we had women's champion Roxanne Perez and Japanese wrestling legend Miko Satomura taking on former tag team champions Kaden Carter and Katana Chance. The winners of the main event weren't really in doubt. Again, this was the theme of the night. It was another showcase match. We got to the end to where Satomura hit a Pele kick on Carter before Perez hit the pop rocks for the pinfall. Match went about 10 minutes. Nice kind of high-flying back and forth type fight. After the match, I was expecting Miko to turn on Roxanne. Instead, she just asked Roxanne to return the favor, and she challenged her to a match for the title, which Perez accepted. They then had a stare down as the show ended, with Vic Joseph on commentary hinting that the match was going to take place at the NXT Roadblock special coming up on March 7th on the USA Network. So that essentially concluded NXT this week. Couple things announced for next week. Was made official, the NXT title match between Braun Breaker and Jinder Mahal. Gotta assume, obviously, Braun's going to win, and that's going to lead to him taking on Carmelo Hayes at Stand and Deliver. We also have JC Jane taking on Indy Hartwell, which during the show this week, Indy essentially just addressed what's been going on with JC, saying that while she hates Toxic Attraction, she hates JC Jane's new attitude even more. And then thirdly, we have Ilya Dragunov taking on Trick Williams based on the events that happened earlier on in the evening. So yeah, other than that, the NXT streams, the way I'm doing them here, probably are going to go pretty short, just because I know not a ton of people watch NXT, but I know a lot of people are curious about what happens there. I personally dig it, even though it's not the same black and gold that first made it super famous. But still got good matches, decent stories. It's really just kind of nice to see the future of the industry, kind of who's going to get pushed, who's not, stuff like that. Kind of cool to see the stars who are going to be main eventing WrestleManias in the next 5 to 10 years. So next live is going to be tomorrow night. There's going to be an AEW Dynamite post show. There's also going to be an episode of the Zach Rubio show where myself, Chris, and Noah are going to talk some sports. Got a lot to talk about since the last episode. We got the Super Bowl. We got the Suns and Kevin Durant. We got the Cardinals' new head coach hire we got to talk about. So definitely, I know a lot of you have been asking about the next sports episode or the next sports related episode that is going to be coming tomorrow. Stay tuned on the socials for the invite. As far as the time, I'm not sure of the time yet, but definitely for sure is going to be tomorrow. Other than that, definitely thanks to everyone who jumped in to watch. Thanks for all the support. Until next time, this has been the Wrestling My Thoughts show. My name's Zach, and you guys have a great rest of your day.